Let's talk about patterns that exist in a table of equivalent ratios. Remember, a ratio is the relationship between a part to part or a part to whole. So here, this table represents the ratio of carrots to cucumbers in a salad. So when we look at the number of carrots to the number of cucumbers, we can say carrots to cucumbers. That's a part-to-part ratio, and that is 3 to 9, or 4 to 12, or 6 to 18, or 7 to 21. It doesn't matter which pair we pick, it's going to be equivalent because they're telling us up here the ratio of carrots to cucumbers remains constant. So 3 to 9, remember a ratio can be written multiple different ways. It can be written 3 to 9, or it can be written with a colon, 3 to 9, or it can be written as a fraction, 3 over 9. Again, this is still a part-to-part ratio. 3 over 9 as a fraction, when you think of it that way, could be simplified. The top and the bottom are divisible by 3. Let's simplify. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now we have an equivalent ratio that wasn't in our table to begin with. Just by simplifying 3 over 9, we can see that 1 over 3 is equivalent to all of these other ratios. And now we could rewrite it as 1 carrot to 3 cucumbers. Again, that is a part to part. Let's read their question. If only whole vegetables can be used, what is the fewest number of vegetables can be used to make this salad? The salad represents a whole, not a part. So when we talk about the number of vegetables used to make the salad, we're including the carrots and the cucumbers. So we've got to add how many vegetables there are. So like if we looked at this row of the table right here, the salad, if we had another column here, the salad, the vegetables in the salad would be 9 plus 3, which is 12. That's how many vegetables would be in the salad if we used 3 carrots and 9 cucumbers. We could also look at the next row. 4 plus 12 is 16. That's how many vegetables would be in the salad. Then we're looking for the fewest number of vegetables. So the simplest form we have here is 1 to 3, and 1 plus 3 is 4. So that tells me that 4 vegetables can be used to make the salad and maintain that equivalent ratio of 3 to 9, 4 to 12, 6 to 18, 7 to 21, or in simplest form, it is 1 to 3. 1 carrot and 3 cucumbers makes 4 vegetables. There are other ways you can look at this table and other patterns that exist. So here we just used a row and set that row up as a ratio and wrote that ratio as a fraction and simplified it. There are other types of questions that we can use patterns in equivalent ratios to answer. Let's look at this question down here and see what that's asking. When the number of carrots is multiplied by 2, what is the number of cucumbers multiplied by? So here we're looking at the column for carrots. When the number of carrots is multiplied by 2. So here we're going to take the number of carrots, 3, multiply it by 2, 3 times 2, and we get 6. Now, when that happens to the number of carrots, what is the number of cucumbers multiplied by? So let's look at the cucumber column and say, well, cucumbers is 9. What goes along with the 6 is the 18. So we go down here, 9 times 2 is 18. So when the number of carrots is multiplied by 2, the number of cucumbers is also multiplied by 2, which makes sense because this table represents equivalent ratios. So the only way that the ratios can be equivalent is if you're multiplying by the same thing. Notice the question below, when the number of carrots is increased by a factor of 2, by what factor does the number of carrots increase by? This is just another way of asking what it's being multiplied by 2. Factor is a word that represents multiplication. So here it's just asking you the exact same thing. It's just using a different vocabulary word to ask. One more example is here when we look at the relationship, you have to pay close attention to the order in which the sentence is describing the relationship. So for example, we've got, what is the relationship between the number of stitches and the length? Well, there's 2 ways you can write your answer. You could say stitches is something, or you could say length is something. And depending on what you start off with is telling us what we need to look at to see what the pattern is. So here where it says stitches is, let's start with stitches is. What are you doing to the length to get the stitches number? If we're saying stitches is something, then let's make a little problem out here. Stitches, 5, is equals, is 1 times, what do we have to multiply 1 by to get 5? 5. So stitches is 5 times the length. Because to get the stitches number, we had to multiply the length by 5. You can do it in any row. 30 is 5 times 6. 30 represents stitches. We're saying stitches is, so 30 is, what are we doing to the length? The length is 6. We're multiplying it by 5. So stitches is take the length and multiply it by 5. Now that's different if you started with the word length. Let's look at a different example here where we say length is. So this time start with the length and write a problem where you say length is, what are we doing to stitches to get the length? So 1 is 5 times what? What do I have to multiply 5 by to get back to 1? Well, the only way to multiply by 5 and get smaller is to multiply by a fraction. 5 times 1 over 5 is equal to 1. So let's try another example. The length 3 is 15 times, well, again, I'm going to have to multiply by a fraction to make 15 smaller. 1/5. 15 divided by 5 is how I get back to 3. So it's like taking the stitches to get the length. It's like taking the stitches number and dividing it by 5, but the inverse of divide by 5 is multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1/5. And we oftentimes we're always using multiplication with our equivalent ratios. So that's why we say to get the length, length is the stitches number divided by 5 or 1/5 times stitches. Because to get the 1, I had to multiply 5 times 1/5. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Hope that helped with understanding patterns that exist in equivalent ratios. Now, a different way to ask this is like if we were to look at a column, this would be a different question. Notice these questions we're focusing on the row because you're comparing stitches to length. Stitches is 5 times the length. If we said, if I multiply stitches by 3, what do I multiply length by? I'm multiplying length by 3, but that's if I stay inside my column and I multiply by 3, then my length is being multiplied by 3. Remember, that's always going to be equal because it's an equivalent ratio. Thank you.